From Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
Tonight on News Hour, Nasarawa residents count losses as flood destroys property. Pensioners groan under harsh economic conditions. NDLEA operatives arrest Lagos airport cleaner who leads drug syndicate for an attempt to export tramadol. Away from Nigeria, 32 killed as death toll continues to rise in Libya clashes. Hello and welcome to the News Hour on Trust Television. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thank you for joining. Now the details. Nasarawa state residents are counting losses as flood destroyed property worth millions of naira. Downpour caused the flood in Daddere and Tudun Adabu communities of Obi local government area of the state on Saturday. Abubakar Abdullahi, who reports that the torrential rain that lasted several hours also destroyed farm crops, foodstuffs, among others. The report is presented from our studio.
Most of the inhabitants of the Dere and Tudun Adabu communities where the flood occurred are farmers. Domestic items, crops and farmlands were destroyed by the flood. Residents of the affected communities were seen searching and evacuating the remains of properties destroyed by the flood, while some made efforts to evacuate refuse that blocked water movement in the drainage system. The residents of the two affected communities call for government intervention in order to bring succor to them.
I've been experiencing this thing, I think, for the past 2 or 3 months, to the point that I even wrote to the Ministry of Environment. I wrote to the chairman of the local government council so that the government should come to our aid. And it is like the issue is still in the increase. It's increasing day by day. And this thing that happened is a bitter experience.
Speaking on the disaster, Nasarawa State Commissioner for Environment and Natural Resources, Yakubu Kwanta, said since the inception of the present administration, measures to prevent flood have been taking the lead to the reduction of the disaster. The Commissioner also advised the residents to adhere to environmental regulation to avoid falling victim of the disaster.
And now to political matters. The People's Democratic Party presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar on Sunday arrived Malam Aminu Kano International Airport after some days in London. Reports say that Atiku will be receiving Kano Central Senator and former Kano State Governor Malam Ibrahim Shekarau and his supporters, who are expected to defect from the New Nigeria People's Party to PDP on Monday. Among those at the airport were former Jigawa State Governor Sule Lamido, former Foreign Affairs Minister Aminu Wali, and others. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has said that some people have reasons for not doing the right thing and engage in corruption because of weak governmental institutions that can curb them. He said this during an interaction with a group of Harvard Business School students who visited him at the presidential villa in Abuja. The vice president said that spirituality and commitment to values such as social justice and transparency were important in a situation where societal or governmental institutions were not strong enough to compel individual behavior in a way that advanced the common good. Professor Osinbajo, while talking about Nigeria and its perception in the international community, explained to the postgraduate students that it was in understanding the size of Nigeria that the international community could better appreciate the enormity and complexity of some of the country's challenges. The spokesman to the Vice President, Laolu Akonde, in a statement issued on Sunday, said the students who are currently on an African excursion ask questions about leadership, faith, spirituality, government, policies in education, health, economy and national image, among others. Now, 4 dead bodies have been found at Kakaudaji village in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State. They were believed to be killed by bandits and dumped in the village on Saturday morning. Muhammad Yaba has an update on this.
5 villagers were discovered with bullet wounds on Saturday at a village called Kakaudaji in Jukun local government area of Kaduna State. They were discovered around 6:30 a.m. by residents covered in blood. All male, adult. 4 of them were confirmed dead. 1 was discovered alive and taken to St. Gerald Hospital for treatment. The remaining 4 bodies were deposited at Sabon Tasha General Hospital mortuary. They were believed to have been kidnapped from a village called Kalla in Kajuru local government area of the state a few weeks ago, taken to an unknown destination, killed while in captivity, abandoned, and then dumped at Kakaudaji. There are no yet official comment from the state government and the state police command publicly and the state police command. As call made to the state public relations officer of the police command, DSP Mohammed Jaligi, were unanswered, and he has not yet replied to text message sent to him.
Nigerian Bar Association NBA in Kebbi State said killers of Magistrate Muhammad Attahiru Zaga will face justice, demanding security provision for lower judicial officers. A statement signed by Publicity Secretary Muhammad Usman, the association said that the incident highlights vulnerability of judicial officers to attacks by unscrupulous elements in the society. Kebbi State Police Commissioner Magaji Kontogora has directed transfer of Farida Abubakar, estranged wife of the deceased, to the State Criminal Investigation Department for investigation. Police had announced arrests of Fatima Abubakar in connection with the death of Zaga, a presiding magistrate in Jega, Kebbi State. A taekwondo athlete in Nasarawa State, Maria Raphael, has been crushed to death. The deceased lost her life after purchasing some items from a grocery store along UAC Road in Lafia, where she was crushed by a truck in Lafia, the state capital, on Friday. In a statement, the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development described the death as an unquantifiable loss, saying her immense contributions to sports in the state will be missed. Raphael, who won a silver medal for Team Nasarawa in the just concluded Bielsa Open Taekwondo, also won a bronze medal in the 46 kg women's category at the 15th edition of the Panama West African and Cottage Mills Taekwondo Championship held recently in Lagos State. She was in Yenagoa, Bielsa State, where she represented Nasarawa in a championship which held between August 21 and 24, 2022. 16-year-old graduating student of Khalifa International School, Sokoto, Fatima Suleiman, is responding to treatment at the Amity Ward of Usman Danfodio University Teaching Hospital. She has her leg amputated at the hospital, where she was rushed to, when jubilating student driving recklessly knocked her down.
This is Fatima, the 16-year-old girl who lost one of her legs hours after finishing her senior secondary school examination in Sokoto. When the jubilant Fatima was stepping out of the examination hall after writing her last NECO exam, she did not have the premonition that something tragic was going to befall her within minutes. Fatima narrated her ordeal.
And we're celebrating, jubilating, when a student from another school came in and started splashing water on us. We reported him to school authority. After warning him, he still continued doing what he was doing. Then around 2, we came out of the school premises and he brought 2 of his friends. Their planes turned to 2 cars. Our principal came out and warned him, but he still denied him to the warning. Then I don't know what happened. He lost control of the car and hit me, but I think he did it intentionally because of what happened earlier. So that's it.
The mother of Fatima, Hajia Hadiza Suleiman, also shared her feelings with Trust TV.
So I was shocked for me to hear that my daughter had an accident. Because I was about to go and carry her from school. Unfortunately, somebody come and tell me that my daughter is a trauma, she had an accident. So I feel bad the way I saw my daughter. It wasn't easy for me.
Fatima Suleiman's father, Dr. Suleiman Saba, who is working with the Federal Medical Center, Gusau, also spoke on the tragedy that befell his daughter.
Well, my reaction was so swift, and I was initially surprised that such a happening was on my daughter, because the impression I got initially was that it was just a minor kind of incident. But when I probed further to find out what really happened, to my amazement, I discovered she had a very serious and severe injury, and I had no choice but to consent to the doctor's decision to amputate her leg.
Dr. Saba also promised to support his daughter to realize her dream of becoming a medical doctor. Abubakar Awal Imam, reporting for Trust TV.
Pensioners in Plateau State want review of their monthly allowances to cope with rising cost of living in the state. The pensioners said though they are receiving their monthly pension regularly, there has not been increments in their pension as stipulated by law for the past 2 decades, saying that the development is affecting their life in view of the current economic reality in the country. Ado Musa speaks to the pensioners in the state. His report.
One of the main objectives of the pension reform is to ensure that every person that worked in either public or private sector in Nigeria receive their retirement benefits as and when due. Although pensioners in the state said pension is being paid regularly, it has been increased for more than 20 years. The pensioners said the law said after every 5 years, their monthly allowances is expected to be reviewed upward, but pension managers had refused to follow this law in the state. One of the pensioners, Kabiru Musa, said he retired as a director with State Board of Internal Revenue for the past 20 years and still received 19,000 naira. He said such amount was not sufficient to feed the family.
Well, with the new, with this present government, we don't have problem in the payment. Every month we receive our money. We don't have any area, any backlog. We don't have it. But the problem here is this. The pension law states that pension should be harmonized every 5 years. Since I retired 2001 up to today, I received the same pension. No one kobo has been harmonized out of it.
Kabiru, however, said the major problems now are that some of them have not been receiving their gratuity and their pension hadn't been reviewed upward.
Our major problem is one, there are some of us that have retired recently. They have not been paid their retirement, their gratuity, most of them. And for us, all we are saying is that let our pension be harmonized. Let it be equal to our junior officers whom we retired a long time before they retire.
Corroborating Kabiru's submission, the State Secretary of the Nigerian Union of Pensions, Comrade Bulus Ibrahim, said though government had been paying their pension consistently, they had other issues which hadn't been solved by the government for many years.
In the case of payment of monthly pension, we really appreciate the government on that, because since inception of this government, there have been no month that pensioners are not being paid. But there are other issues concerning payment, which not only the monthly payment, but we have the issue of gratuity, we have the issue of death benefits and increment, which are yet to be assessed.
The secretary added that the union had tried all it could to see government officials or why their pension hadn't been reviewed, but their efforts was not successful.
They said the issue of this settlement of gratuities with the House of Assembly, and we tried to see the speaker on that issue. We couldn't get him. Most of the time, we try to see government official to explain to us the issue of gratuity and other issues. Death benefit, we will not get them. They don't want to meet us. We don't know why. We try to meet the governor. They are blocking us from seeing the governor.
With the present economic downturn in the country, the pensioners said they were finding it difficult to cope with the situation, calling on the state government to do the needful to harmonize their monthly allowances, their gratuity, and other benefits.
In a similar vein, faced with rapidly rising inflation and consequently high living cost, many pensioners have bitter tales to tell about. Beg your pardon, we'll call for a short break. The news continues shortly. Please stay with us.
Every patriotic Nigerian should hear this. Any politician who means well for the people will never allow themselves or their supporters to engage in any violent, destructive activities. No politician who truly wants to serve the people and develop the nation will encourage his followers to destroy properties or take human lives before, during, or after the elections. The Nigerian public must watch out for these traits and isolate any politician who encourages supporters to engage in violence. No genuine politician or patriot will cause trouble and seek to destroy the very society which they aspire to lead or develop. Politicians who have the good of the people at heart will not allow themselves or their followers to engage in violence, destruction of properties, and then taking of lives. Be vigilant. By their words you shall know them. Shun violence. Stay away from politicians who want you to do so. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NORA.
We do apologize for that break. Now, faced with rapidly rising inflation and consequently high living cost, many pensioners have bitter tales to tell about how they stretched their irregular pensions around the month. Almost 80 to 90% of pensioners live from hand to mouth, with many going cap in hand, begging for alms to survive. In this report, Trust TV's Abdullahi Amadi spoke with two pensioners in Katsina State.
Malam Garba Musa is a retired local government treasurer. He is convinced that pensioners everywhere in Nigeria are in a critical condition. Thousands of them cannot even meet their basic needs, with many of their children malnourished and out of school.
Now, presently, I am sure every pensioner, particularly in Katsina State, will not say that he is in a good mood.
The pensioners are blaming authorities for deliberately not increasing their take-home pay, yet government allocates money to execute projects that do not impact directly on the common man. The result is this plot of continuous difficulties faced by the nation's senior citizens.
So, 4,595 million times divided by 2 will give you 2,295 million. This is the total amount of money which the state government is retaining to itself, giving only half, that is 2,295 to pension. So that is we pensioners, we have to suffer.
A similar story is playing out in Kurifi town with the family of Abdurrahman Isa, a retired local government accountant. The family is having a miserable time, which is full of uncertainty, as members are regularly in court with creditors.
The problem is that you are supposed to be paid on at least 31st. Sometimes we enter first week of the month, the next month, then they used to settle us.
To Abdurrahman's wife, Saadia, they have never had it so bad. This pot was put on fire just to comfort children who have gone without food for almost 3 days.
My husband retired on grade level 14, but look at us like beggars. We've wasted 35 years of exploitation and at the end, suffering. The high cost of living is just getting worse.
The key challenge is the miserly amount available as pay in the midst of harsh economic conditions and rising inflation.
But we are suffering. What we are giving is not enough for us to feed our family, hospital problems, day-to-day activities such as Omo, we used to buy soap and other things. Because human wants, there are many, but the means of acquiring them are limited in supply.
Amid these challenges, pensioners are appealing for the immediate increase and payment of their take-home pay as at when due, so as to at least cushion some of their difficulties. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Closed Television News, Katsina.
Now, operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have arrested one Ohiagu Sunday, a cleaner at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos, who leads a drug syndicate at the international wing of the airport. He was nabbed on Tuesday, 23rd of August, following the arrest of an intending Dubai passenger, Obinna Jacob Osita, who was in possession of cannabis sativa weighing 4.25 kilograms concealed in cassava product, gari, and crayfish. Here is more on the activities of the agency in the last week.
Investigations reveal that a Dubai-based drug dealer recruited Obinna, a native of Oyi local government area, Anambra State, to traffic the drugs, and equally contracted Ohiago, a 34-year-old airport cleaner from Olu West, the local government area of Imo State, to create access for the unhindered passage of the trafficker. The drug syndicate bust, which is the first drug arrest at the new terminal of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, comes on the heels of the seizure of a consignment of bottles of Viju and Fearless energy drinks used to conceal skunk for export to Dubai through the narco export shed on Monday, 15th August. A threat agent has already been arrested in connection with the seizure. In the same vein, attempts by a syndicate to export illicit drugs through the Lagos airport on Wednesday, 24th August, was foiled during an outward clearance of passengers on Ethiopian Airlines to Oman via Addis Ababa. Meanwhile, NDLEA operatives on Saturday raided a car shop, Bolak Motors, at Ewela bus stop, Oshodi, where bags of 615.2 kilograms of cannabis were recovered along with 9 vehicles. Efforts are ongoing to track the car dealer, Alhaji Ismail, who is currently at large. No fewer than 8 suspects were arrested and bags of illicit drugs seized from them. Meanwhile, one Adetula Olariwaju was arrested with 4 blocks of substance on Thursday, 25th August, on his way from Lagos. Sadiq Garba, returning from Gombe, was nabbed with 22 blocks of substance on Saturday, 27th August. In Kano, a drug dealer, Lawal Adamu, 31 years old, was arrested along Kano Zaria Road with 203 blocks of cannabis weighing 136 kilograms, while another suspect, Tahir Abdullahi, was nabbed on Friday, 26th August, with 3,000 ampoules of tramadol injection. In Sokoto State, the village head of Ruga, Shagari local government area, Alhaji Umaru Muhammad, aka Dambala, a notorious drug dealer who was arrested on Monday, 27 August, will be facing charges soon. Chairman, Chief Executive of the NDLEA, Brigadier General Muhammad Buba Marwa, retired, in a statement signed by the agency's Director, Media and Advocacy, Femi Babafemi, commended the officers and the men of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Kano, Kaduna, Yobe, Bauchi, Adamawa, Nasarawa, Edo, Delta and Lagos commands for the arrest and seizures. He charged them with their compatriots across the country not to rest on their oars until the war against illicit drugs as one.
You're watching the News Hour on Trust Television. Coming up shortly, we'll ask the question, are wall clocks and wristwatches going extinct? Details of this and more after the break.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Thanks for staying. You're watching the News Hour on Trust Television. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Nasarawa residents count losses as flood destroys property. Pensioners groan under harsh economic conditions. In other news, the United Nations has commended Nigeria's leading role and political commitment to policy and legislative actions that are progressively strengthening the protection of the rights of older persons. To this end, the United Nations independent expert on the enjoyment of all human rights by older persons, Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Geneva, Claudia Malha, will be visiting Nigeria to boost government effort in that regard. While in Nigeria, Ms. Malha will be meeting with top government officials dealing with matters of Nigeria's efforts in addressing the rights of older people, those in detention, and the vulnerable groups in the country. Now, growing old is believed to be a privilege not many are opportune to have. However, with aging comes many challenges as senior citizens require support to live normal lives. In this report, Hamito Egbade looks at major challenges confronting elderly people. His report is presented from our studio.
Old age begins from 65 years of age upward. And the last stage in life of an individual, the body is gradually becoming weak, limiting such persons' ability to perform certain tasks. This age group face many challenges, including illnesses associated with life-threatening diseases. Most often, the elderly people are deserted or abandoned by relatives. Due to their inability to move around to see their friends, they experience loneliness. Alhaji Moshood Badru, an evangelist, Victoria Oke, relates their challenges confronting the aged.
You will feel depressed When you see people moving around and you are sitting down, you cannot move as people move. Like I said now, I cannot move more than this place. Unless when it is when the weather is bright, then I move up to my gate. So secondly, you feel lonely when you are too rich. Everybody is out now. I'm the only person at home. Loneliness is there.
During the age, your power will not be active like the adult age or when you are still middle age. So you are going to be weak energetically. You have no power to do something that you are doing before in ease. You are going to be managing your energy, your power to sustain yourself. Everything will be very tough for you to do. When
those that are lucky to have good children enjoy tender, loving care. This category received medical treatment regularly to ensure good health and prevent avoidable sickness. Alhaji Moshood Badru and evangelist Victoria Oke are lucky to fall into this category. They said their main source of joy is when they see their grandchildren. Mrs. Fayintola, who owns the non-profit organization Caring Hands International that is catering for many aged persons in Osun State, she advised the elderly persons on keeping fit.
They should try as much as possible to enjoy their old age. We all know that as one is getting old, there's going to be a lot of different health challenges. They should manage them and not be sad or be thinking that, oh, why is this happening to me? It's the normal thing that we come with old age. So they should seek medical advice when there is need for it, and then they should take their drugs at the appropriate time.
Attempts to reach officials of Osun State government to speak on government programs for the elderly people in the state did not yield results. Old age begins from...
The Nasarawa State Universal Basic Education Board has threatened to revoke contract awarded for the construction and renovation of schools from contractors that have contravened terms of agreement. A statement signed by the Public Relations Officer of the board, Ghana Lawal Ahmed, gave the contractors 1 week from Monday to move to sites and complete their work based on contract agreement. According to the statement, the Director, Physical Planning of the board, Muhammad Shuaibu, had already set machinery in motion to implement the decision. According to the PRO, the board will no longer tolerate nonchalant attitudes and warned that the board will not tolerate contractors executing projects at their own discretion. Lawal Ahmed further cautioned the affected contractors to collect their warning letters on Monday, August 29, 2022, at the board headquarters unfailingly. The Jos Electricity Distribution Company has raised over 20 falling poles and electrical wires in communities of Bassa local government area of Plateau State following their destruction by rainstorm. Trust TV had on August 24th reported how rainstorms destroyed electric poles and high-tension wires in the state communities, resulting in power outage for more than 4 months. Ado Musa has more.
Affected communities had last week lamented that the blackout has resulted in a high rate of crimes and economic difficulties in the areas. The residents of the communities, while appreciating the resumption of the work by the Jos Disco, also thanked Trust TV for an earlier report which they had said prompted the disco to resume work in the affected areas.
Jos Electricity Company erecting poles and making progress for the work of restoring power back to Bassa local government headquarters. If not for them, we will still have been in darkness. I want to appreciate them sincerely and thank them for that proactive reportage that helped us in this vein as a community. We believe that we will continue in this work and soon Bassa local government will be restored back to the national grid. Thank you and God bless you.
Sunday Angai, another resident in the area, is happy that they now have access to their homes after the poles and the wires have been lifted.
We are appreciating Trust TV and the Unity FM for airing our concerns. The residents of Jebubasa, like you can see, Jet, Jos have raised the poles, except they are on now. The cables are ongoing, and down there you can see that the cables are on. So we appreciate them very well for coming to our aid in this matter. Okay, we thank God that about or over 20 poles have so far been fixed, and that the cables are on now. So we hope that in shortest time so far, electricity will be restored, energy will be restored to the inhabitants of this place. And so we thank God. Initially, this place were unblocked by the fallen poles, but now you can see we have access to our homes.
The residents of the areas, however, hope that with the resumption of the work, power will be restored and businesses revive. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Street lights ensure that the road is safer and creates efficient movement of vehicles and pedestrians at night times. In this report, Kabir Lawal looks at the level of lighting in the Federal Capital Territory and why it is important to do more. The report.
Lighting is often planned in urban areas to enhance night traffic operations with maximum possible safety, comfort and convenience. So what is the significance of lighting poles on the edge of the roads? For brightening the surroundings? For security reasons? This is no doubt that driving at night without proper street lights can be a very dangerous affair. But while government provides street lights, there are some saboteurs who destroy the very important infrastructure. Residents believe that proper lighting, especially at dark spots, will reduce the attack on persons by hoodlums.
Street lights are very important. Number one, to prevent all those hooligans, hoodlums, those bandits, those scallywag, from hiding under the tree or in a dark place. When there is a street light, everybody will be able to see everywhere, every nook and the corner of the roads, so that the bandit will not have access to hide anywhere. That is number one. Then number two, there are some motors. Their full light are not very sharp, not so bright. But when there is street light, whether they have full light or not, they'll be able to see clearly wherever they are going. And by so doing, there will be no any sort of motor accident.
There are some criminals that will come and steal some of the things in the street light, and some of them are not working. Instead of the government to check on the place all the time, they will just leave everything in dark. Especially in the night, if you watch up, they will be stealing. That is why you see kidnappers everywhere, criminals everywhere, Boko Harams everywhere. It's because of the street light are not working.
A huge number of fatalities have occurred at night as a result of low visibility and poor street light. According to annual global road crash statistics, somewhere around 1.3 million people die in road crashes every year, which means approximately 3,287 deaths per day. These numbers are alarming, especially as many happen at night. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The evolution of mobile phones, otherwise known as GSM handsets in the early 21st century, has redefined the existence of life and some basic tools people use, such as wall clock, wristwatches, and yearly printed calendars. In this report, Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman examines usage of these tools regarded as essential in day-to-day life and the role of technology in sending them to their early graves, and how people cope without them. The report.
A mobile phone, cellular phone, cell phone, hand phone is a portable telephone that can make and receive calls over a radio frequency link while the user is moving within a telephone service area. However, this mobile device, first developed in 1973 by Martin Cooper of Motorola in New York, has now changed the world in many ways. For instance, prior to its evolution, wall clock and printed yearly calendars are a common feature in our homes and offices. But now the story has changed.
It is already been programmed
Just when you look your phone, you will see dates, you will see time, you know. So this is what phone, yes, is what we are using with phone. So you can manage phone, no need to get, watch, yes.
Right now, once I want to know the exact date or the time I want to do, I go through to my phone instantly. I'm satisfied because you have to show me instantly. I will get to know the time and the date and what I wanted to do. So I've taken that burden away. I've taken that stress away from me.
This life-changing device, which also has its negative impact on the people's life, is rendering other devices and human services redundant.
It's true that many mobile phone users prefer using their devices to check time and dates instead of buying a wristwatch.
Economically, it saves money. Instead to now, for instance, you have to buy two things, you will go buy just for fun, because it will serve you the same thing with watch.
Before, people, when you have no occasion to have occasion, running head and scatter, trying to make a camera, buy a video camera, no matter how much you want to. But right now, you're with your phone. Your occasion you go to give you whatever you want.
While the society grapples with notable negativities of these technology, such as growing moral imbalance, cyber-related crimes, amongst others, it has equally made life easier for many. In some cases, reducing the burden of acquiring multiple domestic and electronic tools. Shapir Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Indeed, we're in a changing world. Now, Nigeria has numerous wedding rituals that are rich and uniquely special. The Kanuri traditional marriage is a special ritual that one should experience once in a lifetime. The existing and colorful wedding brings Kanuri people's culture through dance, music, and their cultural activities. Our correspondent captured the rites before and after a Kanuri wedding. Let's take a look.
Most Kanuri marriages are done at an early stage. The men are permitted to marry more than 2 wives. When a man intends to marry a lady, he seeks her parents' consent. The process involves offering ra'aki, which is the presentation of kola nut, chewing gum, and a carton of candy. This phase also is where gifts of handbags, cosmetics, shoes, and luggages full of clothes are given to the bride. The dowry, which is the essential demand, is paid in gold coins during the 3rd visitation of the groom's relatives. Before, a gold coin cost 120,000 naira. You can get it at 100,000 naira, but now it's over 140,000 naira.
The gold coin, when it is being paid to the bride, it will be kept. This is her own pure money. Nobody will touch it. Even the husband will not touch it. And even if the husband is so poor that he cannot afford buying food, Islamically and traditionally, he is not allowed to touch that gold coin that he gave her, except when she is willingly give the husband something out of it.
Then the wedding starts on Thursday with lalle for the decorations of the bride and her female friends. While on Friday, the Wushe Wushe night, a colorful event holds at the bride's home. After that, the wedding happens on Saturday with lots of activities. But how many people are aware of these rites?
There's another one called Ngua. Okay, Ngua is, if I'm not mistaken, Ngua is also. I've forgotten what Ngua means. Wrestling, yes, Ngua wrestling, where they wrestle. There's a boxing, there's a boxing bout between 2 contenders to impress the young lady.
And with a number of rites expected from the groom to perform, some believe that some rituals can be skipped to lessen the expense.
Depends on where you go, which family you go. If you want to go to the rich family, then you will do the way they are. But if the rich family is, the father is a wise man and he is rashidi enough, he will tolerate whatever his sons-in-law brings it.
Now, policemen in Lagos State have arrested one Andy Edwards, who paraded himself as a captain of the Nigerian Army. Police Public Relations Officer Benjamin Hundeyin confirmed this in a statement on Sunday. Hundeyin said that the fake soldier, who posed as a modeling agent, will invite ladies for auditioning and then rob them of their cars and valuables at gunpoint. He was arrested following an investigation that was launched after one of his victims reported the robbery of her Lexus RX 330 SUV. The suspect will be arraigned at the conclusion of investigation. The Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Abiodun Alabi, assured residents of the unwavering commitment of officers and men of the command towards annihilation of crime and criminality in the state. We'll take a short breather, and then when we return, the news hour continues. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching the news hour on Trust Television. Now, away from Nigeria, clashes between backers of Libya's rival government killed at least 32 people. Armed groups had exchanged fire that damaged several hospitals and set buildings on fire on Friday evening, the worst fighting in the Libyan capital since a landmark 2020 ceasefire. The fighting follows months of mounting tensions between backers of Abdulhamid Dbeibah and Fathi Bashagha, whose rival administrations are vying for control of the North African country, which has seen more than a decade of violence since a 2011 uprising. Libya plunged into chaos following the 2011 overthrow and killing of dictator Muammar Gaddafi in a Western-backed uprising, with myriad armed groups and foreign powers moving to fill the power vacuum. Meanwhile, the UN's Libya mission called for an immediate cessation of hostilities, citing ongoing armed clashes, including indiscriminate medium and heavy shelling in civilian-populated neighborhoods. The death toll from ravaging monsoon floods in Pakistan has crossed 1,000 as several countries, including Qatar and Iran, pledged emergency support in the wake of a flood that has been described as a humanitarian disaster of epic proportions. The country's National Disaster Management Authority said on Sunday that the toll since June has reached 1,033, with 119 people dying in the last 24 hours. It warned of very high-level flooding in some areas alongside the Kabul and Indus rivers. Large parts of the country remain submerged, particularly the provinces of Balochistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and Sindh in the south, as heavy rains continue to lash parts of the country. At least 347 people have died in Sindh, followed by Balochistan and KP. And in sports news, Manchester United are close to selling the signing of Antony from Ajax for £85 million. Talks between the two clubs have now progressed and an agreement could be reached within the next 24 hours. Antony was left out of the Ajax squad for the second successive week on Sunday as Alfred Schroeder's side lined up against Utrecht. And now, on a sad note, the Emir of Funakaye in Gombe State, Alhaji Muazu Muhammad Kwaranga, has died at the age of 43. According to sources at the Funakaye Emirate Council, the late Emir died suddenly late Saturday evening, shortly after retiring to bed in what medical doctors said was a heart failure. Our correspondent reports that the deceased's last public function was on Saturday in Gombe, where he attended the flag-off of the distribution of food items to vulnerable groups by the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Pantami. Late Muazu Kwaranga Muazu was appointed as the third Emir of Funakaye on June 2nd, 2021, 13 days after the demise of his elder brother, late Abubakar Muhammad Kwaranga. He was survived by one wife and 5 children. Now, before we wrap up the news, let's take a look at this kika. Ethnic Dai people know how to catch the biggest fish in the pond. Let's take a look at the big fish contest held in Mangnog, an ethnic Dai village in the southwestern province of Yunnan. And with that, we wrap up the news hour. You can watch more via all our social media platforms. And also don't forget, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch us live. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.